Hello students, welcome to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. Today we will discuss about public choice approach. Here when we talk about public choice approach, in which way it is related to public administration is very important to understand. Interesting part about this approach is this approach is actually the origin of this approach is economics, but it is applied to understand about the political behavior and also the administrative behavior. So, that is why it has become this theory or this approach. Let us try to understand about the terms like the relationship between approach and the theory first, because in some text, some books it is referred as public choice theory, in some books it is referred as public choice approach. But to avoid any complication or confusion among the readers or the students, let me make it very clear that every theory offers a particular approach. I repeat, every theory offers a particular approach. Approach is nothing but the way we look at into. I repeat, approach is nothing but the way we look at into. So, when we are using the terms like public choice approach or public choice theory, it refers to the same. So, this important disclaimer I would like to give you in the very beginning itself. So, let us try to understand about the approach of what you call public choice. So, here interestingly, as I have already mentioned, that the origin of this public choice approach belongs to the economics field, but at the same time it is to a great extent applied to understand about political behavior and also the public administrative behavior. When we are talking about political behavior, we are talking about how it is also applied to the voters behavior, it is also applied to the politicians behavior or political party behavior or also government behavior. Similarly, this public choice approach is also applied to understand about the administrative behavior. And when we are talking about administrative behavior, public choice theory is applied to which area? So, here the area is the bureaucracy. So, how the bureaucrats are going to respond to the administrative situations is explained through the public choice theory. It applies the tools of economic analysis like rational choice, self-interest, market logic to political and administrative behavior. This theory is essential for making sense of debates about privatization, bureaucratic reforms and also the limits of the government. So, these are the three important areas in which the public choice approach has been applied. And when you look at the origin and context here, this theory, though it belongs to economics, but emerged in the 1950s and 60s, primarily in the United States. Its origin lies in welfare economics and the study of collaborative decision making. I repeat, within the economics, the public choice theory or approach belongs to the welfare economics. So, welfare economics is one of the important components of the field of economics itself. So, let us try to understand in a step by step how different authors, thinkers and also different books contributed to the emergence of or what we call the origin of public choice approach. So, when it comes to Kenneth Arrow, his book Impossibility Theorem, which was published in 1951, focused more on voters behavior and also focused on decision making of the voters. So, the factors that influences the voters were extensively studied in the impossibility theorem. And what this impossible theory book argues that voters with 3 or more choices can be gamed. I repeat, voters with 3 or more choices can be gamed. What does it mean? It means that when the voters are having 3 or more choices in terms of casting their vote towards a particular political party, then their choice, their decision may not perfectly reflecting in the voting results in terms of formation of the government. For example, formation of the government in multi-party system is a game. So, once we or the voters cast our vote towards a particular political party, as long as the political parties are maximum of 2, the voters decision is going to reflect in the outcome. In other words, the election results and also the formation of the government. I repeat, 3 important components are there when it comes to the formation of the government. First one is about voters decision, second one is about the election results, third one is about formation of the government, and you will find a clear cut connection between voters choice, the election results and formation of the government. But when it comes to the impossibility theorem, what it argues that if the voters are having more than two options, then the result will not be in the hands of voters choice, but it will be in the hands of the parties which are there in the game. So, the game that happens among the political parties will result into the formation of the government, not just the choices made by the voter, is the fundamental argument. And Kenneth argues that wherever these kind of more than 3 and more than 3 options are there in terms of choices, it is not only about between the voter and the political parties, but also about the consumer as well. So, what the fundamental argument of impossibility theorem is that, so it is impossible to have a clear cut result when the voter casts their vote, is the fundamental argument of this impossibility theorem. So, and this has been applied to politics, this has been applied particularly to the electoral politics, and it is argued that if you have more choices, then the result will be not be in your hand, but in the hands of the political parties itself. So, we have seen in many cases, especially in the Indian context, whether it is Goa, whether it is Karnataka, whether it is Andhra Pradesh, whether it is the North Indian states, you will find that the formation of the government is not completely in the hands of the public or the voters, but it becomes the game of the what we call political parties, especially in the context of multi-party system. So, another important contribution is made by Anthony Dons and his book An Economic Theory of Democracy, wherein he applied economic logic to voters, parties, politicians, and arguing that they have like rational self-interest. In other words, the core argument of this particular book is that every individual, like the voter, the political party or a politician, thinks only about their own individual interest, what he called it as self-interest. So, though we call about democracy, we talk about democracy, the ideals of the state, the objectives of the state, we talk about the constitution, we talk about the shared ideologies, especially the ideologies. In fact, Anthony Don's argument is that there is nothing called the ideology. Everyone is actually thinking about their own self-interest, which results into what we call the voter's behavior. So, when the voter is behaving or voter is casting their vote, they actually the term they will not be there, but every voter will be there. Every voter is an individual, and every individual thinks about their own interest, is the fundamental argument of Anthony Dons. So, another important contribution was made by James Buchanan and also Gordon Tullock. So, in their book, the Calculus of Consent, which was published in the year 1962, laid the foundation of public choice theory. Remember one thing, that is why these Buchanan and also the Gordon were also called as the founding thinkers of public choice approach. They rejected the romanticized notion of the state and also the public, and also the public's collective will. They completely rejected, I repeat, 3 important well received, well discussed and well accepted concepts in the field of political science and even to a great extent public administration, was completely rejected by the what you call the book called the Calculus of Consent. It argues that there is nothing called the state. In reality, there is nothing called state, public or collective will. So, they recognized that individuals as unit of analysis in the studies to analyze political and administrative decisions. Though we call it as state, state is nothing but divided into different states, and state is divided into different regions. Region is divided into different districts and the villages, and village is divided into different individuals. So, here they are trying to say that it is the, when you talk about collective will, it is the result of individuals thinking. There is nothing called collective will as a whole. So, this is the fundamental argument of the calculus of consent. And there was another interesting study which is conducted by Niskanen. He argues that bureaucracy and representatives government. In his book Bureaucracy and Representative Governments, he also picked the unit of study as the bureaucrats. What is his fundamental argument is that bureaucracy is a system, bureaucrats are group of people, but when we talk about bureaucrats, we are talking about bureaucrat alone. So, he also, in continuation to the argument of what we call the calculus of consent, where it rejects the concept of state public. When it comes to the bureaucracy and responsive government, it also rejects the concept of what we call bureaucracy or bureaucrats, and recognizes that bureaucrats alone. See, bureaucracy is nothing but the collection of different individuals. So, when a bureaucrat is entering into the office, he will not enter as a bureaucracy or a system, but he will enter as an individual. So, for an individual bureaucrat, what gives mileage to him, what benefits to him, what is his or her self interest matters a lot than the collective will, is the fundamental argument of the what we call public choice theory. Thank you for listening.